Well, it's the final day of practice here for stop number 1 of the FLW Tour on Sam Rayburn, which is presented by Polaris. I'm here with Dickie Newberry. Dickie, you are A tour rookie, but B, probably, well, in the field, the most seasoned guy on Rayburn. So I'm really excited to get a little bit of details out of you on this lake because, as we know, it's high. But I feel like if anyone has seen conditions similar to this before, maybe in this time of year, it'd probably be you. So what's it looking like after 3 days of practice in your mind?
It's a totally different lake right now. It's fishing totally different than I've ever seen it. You know, I've fished it since the late 70s, and I don't know, I've seen it this high one time before.
Wow.
I've never seen it this high, especially, you know, we're used to high water, you know, 5 or 6 foot above pool, but normally it's in February and March, and that's when the fish have made a move, and
sure, and
then it's all about flipping. So, but it's not this time.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, that brings up a good point. It's early January. Normally you think of Rayburn and January or wintertime, I'm thinking like a rattle trap or a lipless crankbait. I'm thinking grass. How is the grass looking this week?
Well, see, the grass is it's about 11 to 12 foot below the surface, the top of the grass. So it makes it almost impossible. You've got to fish it with a crankbait or something that'll get down there. Lipless, you can't get it down there and work it like it needs to work.
Sure, okay.
So the lipless is, I don't think it'll be a player in this particular tournament.
Do you think the offshore bite will still be a strong player despite the high water? Like, do you think there are a lot of fish that are like, I don't really feel like going to the bank, I'm good where I'm at?
Well, I mean, the first day of practice, I spent all day long to dark checking all the places that I've caught them in the past outside the grass. And I didn't have any luck. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to.
Okay.
There's so many big fish here. There's so many schools of big fish.
Right.
You know, somebody's going to find them. I'm going to say stumble up, but not necessarily. They're just going to find them.
Okay. Do you think, because the weather today was gorgeous. I mean, it was sunny, it was warm. Looking ahead to when the tournament starts, though, we're going to have like mid-50s kind of for highs, maybe some rain, some clouds. Is that weather going to do anything to change maybe where the fish are at, or maybe ignite a bite that wasn't going in practice?
It's possible. I mean, it'll change. They'll react a little bit different in the colder weather. I don't know. I mean, the water temperatures today was around 64, 65. I don't know in January if I've ever seen that hot of water. Usually our water temperatures in the mid-50s and low 50s, and I think last year this time it was in the high 40s. So, okay. You know, it's just a total different lake. I mean, all the local guys that have knowledge of the lake, it's just it's not really helping them any at all.
I got you. Well, the final thing I kind of want to take tabs on, since it is the last day of practice, watercolor has kind of been another thing people are talking about. And after 3 days, have you noticed parts of the lake that were maybe clean the first day have dirtied up, or vice versa?
It seemed like, if anything, maybe I'm just getting used to it, but it seemed like it's clearing up maybe just a tad. Okay. I mean, you know, the fish are going to still be here. I mean, they'll get used to this dirty water, and they'll start back to biting, and probably during the tournament. Anybody that did get lucky to find some up in the muddy water, their bite will probably improve as the week goes on.
So they're not really too concerned. It wouldn't be like, let's say, a Florida thing where water gets dirty, or you have dirty water, they completely shut down. They kind of get used to it over a few days, and they'll get back to doing normal bass stuff.
Yeah, it just takes them a little bit of time. I mean, they got to eat, so I mean, they just, you know, just it's like getting your house flooded, and it takes a while to clean it up.
Yeah. The final thing I want to ask you about is, just in your mind, do you have an idea what you think we'll see for a winning weight?
Well, you know, I'll be surprised if it's not somewhere probably around 75.
Okay.
That's what I suspect. If we hadn't had the last 10 foot of water, you know, it would have taken a lot more. But I think 70, 75, you're going to be strong.
I like it. You heard it from the man himself, Mr. Newberry. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Go get you a bite to eat.
I'm going.
Moving right along here, we have Jordan Osborne joining us, and you know, we talked to Dickie Newberry, so we got one Texas pro out of the way. Rolling right into another one. I assume you're probably just making it rain bass out on Rayburn right now.
I wouldn't say making it rain. I am catching them. They're kind of few and far between, but just keep the bait in the water, keep moving around, and you run into one every now and then.
With the experience out here, because what Dickie was saying is that a lot of local guys, whatever they know is probably out the window, given the circumstances. I guess what I'm curious about is, have you sampled a little bit of everything in terms of like a deep bite, shallow, like back in the trees? Like, have you kind of sampled all that, or did you kind of lean one way or another?
Yeah, I pretty much zigzag back and forth. I mean, all throughout the day, I'll spend an hour shallow, hour out deep.
Okay.
You know, an hour mid-range in that 10 to 12 foot range. But you know, you catch some, you'll catch one up shallow and you think, okay, I'm onto something, and then you give it an hour and nothing, and you go out deep and you catch one and you think, okay, I'm onto something, and you give that another hour, and it just it's real hit or miss. I did find a couple of places though that I felt like the fish are loaded up in those areas. So
oh, okay, something to kind of expand on once tournament starts.
Yeah, I definitely found some spots where I didn't catch just one. I caught, you know, a dozen or so. So I'm hoping that they hold tight with this cold front rolling in.
Well, that was kind of another thing I was wondering. You know, today it was nice, yesterday was nice, but by the time the tournament starts, it's a pretty standard issue. It's going to be cool, cloudy. There's a chance of rain like Friday or Saturday maybe. What effect do you think that'll have on this fishery?
I don't really think it's going to have any effect. I mean, it's not really going to get bitter cold like it can this time of year. And
sure, yeah, it ain't going to snow.
We had a cold front just before we got here where it dipped down into the 30s, and you know, water temps on day one of practice were 56, 57, 58. So I just don't think it's going to do much to it. I saw as high as 61 today, and you know, maybe it drops it back down to 56, 57, but I don't think that's going to have any effect on them. I think the way that I want to catch them, if anything, it'll maybe kind of hold them tight to what they're staging on. So. Sure.
The other thing is Rayburn, pretty giant lake. There's a handful of ramps right now that are accessible to actually launch your boat in. So that means you got to run around a little bit. Did you write off sections of the lake, or did you still try to look at everything? Because you know, the water's pretty dirty. You go up, it gets a little cleaner down towards the dam. Did you try to check everything just to not leave anything on the table?
Well, I kind of somewhat wrote off everything above the bridge for fear of possibly not being able to get under it.
Oh, physically not being able to.
Right. I didn't want to spend a day of practice on water that I wouldn't be able to fish
sure.
in tournament time. We just don't know what the Corps of Engineers is going to do with the water. It's been rising 4 to 5 inches a day, so.
Okay.
I don't know what it's done today, but you know, you project that out and it could be close to 175 by the time the tournament starts, which would make it iffy getting under that bridge.
Yeah.
If there's a little chop on the water.
Right, right. So I guess 3 days in the books, is there anything you wish you would have looked at, or is this one of those events where you're kind of like, oh, I like maybe trying something new on tournament day, and then kind of taking it from there and rolling with it throughout the course of the event?
Well, no doubt I wish I had more time to spend in some other creek arms, but you know, these with the water back in the trees, you know, some of the major creek arms, you can literally spend all 3 days of practice in one and
sure.
not cover it. So I kind of narrowed the window down for myself and stuck to a couple of different creek arms and spent, you know, 95% of my time in there. I think that's a good choice. I know a lot of guys were zigzagging back and forth across the lake and kind of freaking out. You know, everybody I've talked to has kind of been whining about it, but that's also typical tournament talk. So
very much so. Well, I guess before I let you get out of here, you got 3 days under your belt now of practice. What do you think it's going to take to win this event, weight-wise?
I think if you average somewhere around upper teens, maybe 20 pounds a day, I think that's what it's going to take to win.
Okay.
I think maybe 16, 17 a day could get you in the cut for Saturday, and probably another 16, 17 pound bag get you in the cut for Sunday.
So for some guys it may be tough, but the summary is Rayburn full of big bass, you can get that one kicker. It's kind of like Florida in that sense. You can catch an 8 or 9 pounder and really help skew you up the leaderboard a little bit. And you think it's going to shake out to be a pretty good event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you're going to see guys that come in with 3 fish for 16, 17 pounds. I think that's going to be pretty common, because anytime you can catch that 8 or 9 pounder, or just go out and have 3 bites and they're all, you know, 4s and 5s. So even though the bite is a little bit tough, I still think the weights are going to be up there, because there's a lot of bigger fish that are biting, in my opinion.
I love it, man. Well, Jordan, good luck to you this week.
Thanks, bud.
And we'll let you get out of here.
Thank you.
Wrapping it up for the night, we have the 2018 Smith Lake Tour champion, David Williams, with us. I figure, I'm kind of looking out here, you know, I see some trees flooded up. I'm thinking like you could probably get a swim jig through there. You've done some stuff with a swim jig, so I could probably assume you're catching a pile bass.
Not really. Just seems like they hadn't got up there real good yet, or either they're just pretty scattered out.
Well, let me rewind a little bit and let me ask this. What's your experience like on Rayburn? Have you been here before?
I fished in the Toyota Texas Bass Fest 2 years ago, but that was in like either April or May.
Yeah, it's like a spring, late spring thing.
Yeah, it's full of fish. I mean, I caught like 40 or 50 fish a day. I mean, I didn't really find the big ones, but it's full of fish. But it's not showing it to me yet here, but somebody's found them though.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily you don't really need to start getting on them till Thursday, so you got some time to mull it over. What I'm curious about is, this lake is giant, and with only a few boat ramps and play to launch your boat at, that means you got to drive around a lot. Usually we'll see at these, you know, there'll be 10 boats here, 15 boats over here, 50 boats here. Did that change your game plan at all for how you practice in this event?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to use the, you know, probably the main ramps pretty much most of the time anyway. You know, you just kind of have to pick an area here. It's so big, and just take a look at one area pretty much.
Sure.
You can't really run around all over the whole place. I mean, this thing's like, what, 120,000 acres or something.
Yeah.
So you pick a couple areas that you like, and hopefully you hit it in the right area, and if you don't, you know, you keep hunting them till you do. So.
What about watercolor? Did you let that play into your factor at all for areas of the lake you looked at? Like, did you try to avoid some of that dirtier water?
I like some stain in the water. I really like it muddy, but the areas that are muddy to me are really trashy. I mean, they got a lot of like debris on the surface, and it's hard to even fish them because of all the debris on the surface. So you kind of got to get in areas that are a little cleaner, where there's not quite as much debris around, so you can be more efficient.
Yeah. Okay. What about the offshore bite here? Did you check any of that? Well, I guess now a lot of the grass is deeper, but did you look at any of the inside, outside edge of that stuff, or even some of like the brush piles and ledges and points and stuff like that?
No, not much. I mean, I fished some of the inside grass lines and some of the little ditches back in the creeks, you know, doing a typical rattle trap and you know, stuff like that. But I'm not going to fish deep very much, especially with the water temperature creeping up on 60 degrees right now. I mean, I'm going to look for them shallow, and hopefully they show up, and I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket.
Do you think this will be, based on your practice, will this be an event, and maybe at least for you, where is it like 10 bites a day? Or do you think when you get into a spot and you get dialed in, you know, as you count first day of the tournament as another practice day, you could really start getting right?
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled to get bit, I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I'd love just to have a limit each day. I don't care if they're just 14, 15 inches. I mean, it's been that tough on me. If I can come up with a limit each day, I'll be satisfied. I mean, if you're catching fish here, you're eventually going to catch a big one.
Right.
So you just have to weed through them. I think the fishing's going to get a little bit better if they get this water turned around. It's still rising. As of today, it's still rising again. So I think by the time tournament rolls around, it's going to start coming down. So hopefully that'll position the fish a lot better once they start pulling the water a little bit.
I like it, man. Well, with that, we're gonna put a bow on practice. I'm gonna let you get rolling. Thank you very much, and good luck.